This portion of the Digital Lifestyle is brought to you by iWebBuddy. iWebBuddy picks up where iWeb leaves off, allowing you to manage multiple domains, RSS feeds, and Google Analytics for your iWeb pages. Find out more at zarastudios.com. Hi everyone, and welcome once again to TDL Live. I'm Ryan Ritchey. It is Monday, November 3rd, and you see the stars here in the U.S. It is Election Day Eve. Election Day Eve. Get out and vote. Vote twice if you're really into your candidate. Again, I'm Ryan Ritchey. Adam Ford is off this evening. Adam Ford will be back next week. And just a reminder, tonight's show is brought to you by iWebBuddy. If you're not familiar with iWebBuddy, pretty cool if you're running an iWeb-based website, because one of the major problems with iWeb is you can't manage multiple domains, and you can't manage the RSS feeds, and you can't really get Google Analytics into it without using the iWeb interface. So iWebBuddy allows you to do all that, and you can find out more at zarastudios.com, or just go over to our sponsors page at the end of tonight's show. Okay, so you probably know the drill, but if you're new to the show, this is the fishbowl of news, all the news, rumors, and lifestyle information that you need to know about Apple this week. It's in a random order. I will now reach in there and pull out the first story. And don't forget, you can interact with me during tonight's show via iChat or AOL Instant Messenger. You can just send the message to TDL Live. All right. Mac girl behind the camera.
Hi.
She said hi, nobody can hear her. Okay, here we go. From the rumor department, our friends over at MacNN floating this one out there. Actually, I believe they picked it up from another source. Neil Mostyn at Strategy Analytics. Haven't heard of Strategy Analytics before tonight. Strategy Analytics, Neil is saying that he believes the MacBooks could see built-in 3G wireless capability. Would make sense. You've got the 3G network and the iPhone. The theory here being that it would be, quote, the logical next step to allow those, end quote, to allow those networks to offer a notebook as well. So, a couple weeks ago we were talking about the possibility of the MacBook in, say, Walmart. Well, what about the MacBook in, say, the AT&T store? Interesting idea. We'll have to see if this happens. Of course, there are some other computers out there that already have the wireless built in for the EVDO system, and now we're getting close to seeing the Zoom, kind of the next generation of wireless. As that rolls out, that will be in devices as well. So, you know, it's one of those rumors that probably falls into the category of, well, yeah, it'll happen sometime, but we just got a MacBook refresh, and actually they are saying here, according to Neil, that we could see this update sooner than you would probably expect. I wouldn't think so. Again, MacBook Pros are locked probably through and past Macworld coming up in January. So let me know what you think, of course, again, through iChat, or you can send an email to feedback@thedigitallifestyle.tv. Everybody's good on how we do this now? Yes? Okay, see, I can hear you in the chat. I can't hear you at home if you just shake your head. All right, next. So, there was an exec at IBM by the name of Mark Papermaster. Pretty cool name. Mark Papermaster, probably rebelling against his name, decided, I'm going to go into computers. And, well, you see, because he's paper and... All right, well, anyhow, he's a veteran at IBM and considered one of their 300 elite senior managers. This story comes to us from Ars Technica. He turned in his resignation to go to Apple. There is some sort of legal wrangling about this, but it turns out IBM was so set on him not going to Apple that in these court documents, they offered him what essentially amounted to a year's salary to just kind of disappear for a year and not go to Apple. So he had... They say that he was with the company 26 years. He's currently the VP, or was the VP, of IBM's Blade Development Unit, which is the server unit. And so it says that that was a position working closely with Steve Jobs at Apple with the X serves and mobile device chips lying around. So that's what position he would fill at Apple, and IBM really didn't want to see that happen. Now, remember that our good friends at Apple are sitting on $25 billion, and Steve half joked on the analyst call that you know, maybe they could use that money to buy up, to purchase, to bring on, not to purchase. You can't purchase people anymore in this country, I would hope, but to hire. That's what it's called when you have someone doing a job for you. To hire all of the engineers in Silicon Valley, and frankly, you run the numbers, he could probably do it. He was not, I just want to make this clear, he was not advocating slavery. My bad. So, let's just get that out. Macro, you might want to call our legal friends. Okay, thank you. Again, some late show up, latecomers. I can't speak. Latecomers to the show asking where Adam is. Adam's on a sunny tropical island this week. He will be back next week, I'm sure, with a fine tan from his trip to a tropical island. So, TDL, you know, co-host, it's the perfect role because, well, it is. Apparently, you get to go to sunny islands.
Use sunblock.
Steve Jobs, there have been some issues. This comes to us from Apple Insider. There have been some issues regarding the glass trackpads on the new MacBooks and MacBook Pros, and also the hinges. And of course, the hip new way, whenever you have a problem with an Apple product, to get help is to send an email to Steve Jobs. So this is another from the I'll send an email to Steve Jobs. Now this reply did not come from Steve, though. At least that's not what they're implying here. But rather an Apple representative called back the person who called to complain about the glass trackpad issues. What was happening was it wasn't registering any of the physical clicks. So you might want to check that out on your MacBook. The Apple representative called him back and said that the company is looking into the complaints, but has no immediate resolution. There's nothing they can do for him now. It's kind of like buying a car. I always use the car analogy. And one of the wheels is stuck. And you call Ford or Chevy or Toyota or Hyundai or even Kia or even Suzuki. And you say, my wheel's stuck. And they say, well, we've heard about that, but we don't have any resolution for you. But, you know, apparently now, forget about AppleCare, forget about calling AppleCare, forget about the Apple Store. Just send an email to Steve Jobs and everything magically is taken care of. Who knew? They're going to save millions on tech support. Just have him do it. Steve support. That's true. There's no denying it. Let's not, you know. Chip analyst, well, that's not his name. Craig Berger is his name. His name is not chip analyst, but Craig Berger, who works as a chip analyst, believes that Apple has slashed iPhone production by up to 40%. Now, if you believe that, I have an iCard to sell you. There's supposed to be a laugh track. Okay. So basically, Apple, according to this analyst, has cut its calendar Q4 iPhone production plans significantly, more than originally estimated. And instead of a 10% production drop, recent checks, according to this analyst, indicate that Apple's iPhone production could fall 40% or more from Q3 levels. What the heck does this mean? Well, I wouldn't freak out about it. Obviously, it could be a response to economic situations around the world, but there's a story in here we'll get to in a little bit that could contradict that. You have to also consider that there were several phones made, several millions of phones made for the launch of the iPhone 3G and the initial inventory, and this might just be the standard ramp down from that. And let's not rule out the possibility of maybe not a new phone, but maybe we're going down to one model as far as the storage is concerned on the phone or something like that. So I would wait, see if we get any more reports, see if Apple at any point confirms this. They're always chatty Cathys about inventory. They're not. They're really not. So look forward to hopefully hearing from them, or not hearing from them might be even better. But so far this hasn't really hit the stock price at all, but keep an eye on that. It can't go much lower. That's what we always say here. And then it goes lower. I'm going back in the bowl. You could see that. It's a visual program. We're not on AM old-timey radio. People aren't listening with their crystal sets. They could see what's going on there. Our next story comes to us from Engadget. It's about Amazon, and kudos to Amazon for this. Amazon has decided to take on all the needless packaging that comes with electronic devices. Say, for example, a memory card that often comes on a big wacky piece of cardboard and in a hard storage case, and you don't necessarily use either of those things. And maybe the big cardboard is more designed for retail so that you can keep an eye on theft or something like that. But Apple has announced, Amazon, the other big A in technology, has announced that 19 products will be available. Consumers can opt to get what they're calling the frustration-free packaging on 19 items. These items come from companies like Microsoft, Transcend, who does a lot of the flashcards, but also Fisher-Price and Mattel. And Amazon's CEO has said that the vision is to have frustration-free packaging options within a few years for all products sold on Amazon.
Wow.
It's very ambitious. Let's see how that goes. If you're just tuning in, TDL Live is the show. It's election eve here in the United States, and nothing says an election like stars. So there's some stars back there. If you're watching this later, you already know how the election went. Isn't that weird? It's like reverse time travel. You know what happened. We're sitting here and don't know what happened, but you know what's happening. Unless you're watching live and you're, I don't know what happened. Wisecracker in the iChat mentioning that it's not the packaging that makes Microsoft products frustrating. Very true. Very, very true. Show of hands, who's got some disposable income? Yes? No? Nobody? Well, too bad, because there are a couple of interesting items in Apple history hitting the auction block. Going up for auction is the 100-inch original plexiglass Apple sign that was first used by Steve Jobs and Steve Wozniak when they went to the first trade show they attended, where you've seen that scene in Pirates of Silicon Valley where everybody rushes into the Apple booth. Well, that trade show is where this sign was seen. It was later put up in front of the different Apple buildings as they were waiting for permanent signs and so forth. So that goes all the way back to 1976. That's going to be up for auction. And also up for auction is the rusted blue toolbox that was actually Steve Wozniak's Apple-issued toolbox that he used in the early days at Apple. At some point he said, I don't want that. What's that going to be worth? Well, they estimate $3,000 to $5,000 today. Frankly, I think it's probably low. But those two items will be up for auction. You can find out more information about that. We'll have the show notes available in the forum after tonight's show. By the way, I do apologize. Last week's notes are up now. They weren't up immediately following the show, but you can check those out as well. What do you think it's worth? Let me know. TDL Live. Not what you would pay for it. I think it's a very important piece of technology history, American history. Don't mean to overdo this, but I mean, it's like owning Edison's screwdriver. Or the caveman with the wheel. It's like having his piece of stone. Okay, we're moving on. We're moving on. Do you hear crickets? Am I the only one hearing crickets? It's not even summer. Every time I'm silent, I hear crickets. Here's an interesting statistic for you. Of course, we've been following these market numbers indicating that Apple's market share has been going up, 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 and Apple has confirmed that. And most of those numbers are the NPD numbers, which indicates sales, retail sales of computers. But there's also this number that comes out from time to time from Net Applications. And essentially what Net Applications does, they are monitoring internet traffic and what percentage of internet traffic comes from which OS. Interestingly enough, for October, Vista usage is up, Mac usage is down. Mac usage is down. The iPhone growth slowed as well. iPhone accounted for 3.12% of internet usage according to net applications. That's down from 6.67% in September, and Mac share fell down. Oh, help it get back up, folks. Go on the internet. Fell down 0.24% for the same period. I would probably call that flat. I don't know that that's necessarily the sky is falling. It is a little interesting to see that Vista is up while these other OSs are down, but you know, maybe all the Mac people were just busy in October. It was Halloween, getting ready for the election, huh? Maybe you were busy hanging your stars. I wouldn't put too much into this. The NPD numbers are definitely more important in the long run, showing us what's going on with actual sales. This really is more indicative of usage. So keep that in mind. Okay. Just let me go around the forums here. Okay. Don't forget TDL Live or via email to feedback@thedigital-lifestyle.tv. Meant to mention this last week, we didn't get a chance. This is what we call a leftover. Free Wi-Fi offer is back at AT&T free Wi-Fi offers back at Starbucks from AT&T for iPhone users. Word of warning, do not go gloating too much to your buddies using Blackberries, because the offer is also good for BlackBerry users who have Wi-Fi equipped Blackberries. So don't make too big of a deal out of it. But I have the NetShare application, which was not available for very long. Truth be told, I haven't even tried it yet, but it should be interesting to see whether that will work at Starbucks and allow you to use your iPhone, tether it to the computer. Again, that still works, last we heard. Haven't tried it here yet, but it's on the big to-do list here at TDL. The TDL list. Sorry. Our writers are gone this week, too. What are you going to do? Opera Mini, not rejected. Rejected? Not rejected? Rejected? What? Here's the situation. Those of you who have an iPhone know that Safari is the browser of, well, it's the browser you're stuck with, because other browsers are not currently available in the App Store. There was a bit of a kerfluffle this past week, as the CEO of Opera indicated that Apple wouldn't allow Opera's mini browser into the iTunes Store. Well, doing a little bit of research, some folks following up on this, turns out that maybe it's more a matter of semantics, that it appears that the app has never even been submitted to Apple for them to disapprove it. But it will be interesting to see what happens. There was another program a little bit earlier called Mail Wrangler. That application was denied because it could be confusing in that it duplicated a lot of the features of Mail. That was Apple's explanation. I don't think you can stop selling Coke because people might be confused about it being Pepsi. The whole idea here of the App Store was that the app had to not cause any harm, and otherwise Apple would essentially be hands off. So if this turns out to be true, it could be cause for concern as far as Apple not allowing for competitive apps to get in. There was another it was actually Podcast Wrangler was another app that dealt with being able to wirelessly listen to podcasts on your iPhone, which you currently can't do through iTunes and the wireless App Store. You can't get the podcasts onto it without syncing it to your computer. So I would say don't get too upset yet. We'll wait and see how this plays out. We'll have to wait and see once some people actually submit browsers and see whether they get rejected at that point. Then we can be concerned about it. It should be interesting to see what happens. I think it's a very unwise move on Apple's part if it turns out that they are indeed trying to keep out competing apps, because any app is helping to grow the iPhone market, and they get 30% of it. Let's not forget that. And Opera is a paid browser on most systems, as the three of you who use it know. Boo. Boo, says Opera user. Boo. Let's hope Opera user isn't watching tonight. Before I jump into the next one, just a reminder to stop by our blog, thedigitallifestyle.tv, and then you can click on blog. We have updates throughout the week. My review of the Brent Haven bag went up today. You can check that out. Tomorrow, should I give them a spoiler here? Yeah. Tomorrow's story on e-voting, electronic voting. You know, we're going to hear stories about people lined up for hours. Are we ever going to be able to do this from our computers? And there actually are some people voting from their computers this election. And I'll tell you about them and where they are and why they're allowed to do it. So look for that on the blog tomorrow. And also, this show, Root Access, our iPhone reviews, iPhone app reviews, iPod app reviews, all available through iTunes. If you go to the iTunes store, search for The Digital Lifestyle, all one word. You'll see all of our feeds. You can subscribe to them right there. But still join us on Mondays. It's exciting with the live audience. What's he gonna do? Are they gonna zoom in with the camera? Anything could happen, folks. So a little bit earlier, I told you about the the concern that there might have been a downturn in iPhone production. However, interestingly enough, from Yahoo News comes this little tidbit. There's a study showing that the strongest growth of purchases of Apple iPhones is actually coming from those earning less than the median household income in the US. So according to the digital media research firm ComScore, iPhone adoption since June soared 48% among those earning $25,000 to $50,000 annually, or by 46% among those earning $25,000 to $75,000. Under $25,000, the growth rate was 16%. Now, you might be thinking, this is the craziest recession ever. People who are on their last dime are buying the iPhone. Well, it's a little more complicated than that. The theory that they're pushing here, looking at this information, is that perhaps what's happening, and I think it's a bit of a reach, but what's happening is people are seeing the iPhone as replacing multiple devices and actually being a money saver. It's replacing an iPhone and an iPod and perhaps is your main media player. So if you look at it that way, although those might be things that people in the lowest bracket weren't going to buy anyhow, you can again see the value of the iPhone. Personally, I think that in tough times we all look for a thing, you know, that a luxury item that can kind of take our minds off of things. For some people, it's a movie with singing dogs, but for other people, it might be a shiny new iPhone. So that's the information there. And once again, all the links will be in our forum. We invite you to stop by there and let us know what you think about the show there as well. Skinniest story of the night. What could it be? It's bad news. Bad news for the Circuit City fanboys, who actually happen to be the Opera users. I don't know if you knew that. Circuit City today announcing they're closing 155 stores nationwide. I know my local Circuit City store is a less than pleasant shopping experience, we'll say. And I was surprised to see that it was not on the list. So there must be even more less than pleasant, or at least less underperforming stores than even my dark tank Circuit City locally. I am by no means a Best Boy fan, but between the two, I tend to go with the store that at least has lights. It's my bar. It's very high. I understand. It's a hard buy. Hard buy.
Hard buy.
Hard buy. High bar.
High bar.
High bar.
Oh.
Sometimes the silence is poignant. A little bit of news for you with Apple and our favorite company, Star. Good news, Apple and Star, they've set a trial date for November 9th. Hey, look at your clocks, calendars. Well, November 9th, 2009. We're going to be hearing about this for a while. This seems to imply that the deal they were working on to keep this out of the court, come to some sort of agreement, did not come to fruition, must have fallen apart here. And so the timetable, this is from Apple Insider, timetable was part of a proposed case management order filed by the two companies last Thursday, and requests initial disclosures begin later this month, with fact discovery ending late next June, and the trial to be scheduled for November 9th, 2009. And a completely unrelated note, Psystar, while facing possible legal action from Apple, also is developing a Mac portable clone, we hear. So keep going at it, guys. I'm sure you'll beat Apple. Is this it? We're down already? This is it? Oh man. Really? That was a lot of news. It's because I don't have any witty rapport. I can't talk to these stars. What are they gonna say to me? So Adam, you're missed. We look forward to your return next week. And you may have heard that Netflix is now streaming to the Mac. Had a chance to try it out today. I'll do a full review on the Digital Lifestyle, which is where we are now, later in the week. I have to tell you, my initial review, it's a pretty solid system. There were a few little glitches at the beginning going to full screen. The way this works, essentially, you have to have Microsoft Silverlight on your computer. Silverlight 2, which is the new release of Silverlight. It's a very quick installation. You do have to restart the browser, however. And then when you log back into Netflix, you will see these little play icons next to the movies that can, that's right, and you can go and check by your queue, see which movies are in your queue currently that have that little play button. Click on those and watch them right away. It's pretty slick. I'm going to try hooking it up to LCD TV to get a better sense of the quality. One of the glitches I ran into when I first tried to play it was a really rough quality because it detects your connection speed, and it detected mine as low for some reason, but just by clicking to redetect, then it was suddenly superior or high or supreme, whatever the highest setting was. And it looked decent. I was also surprised to see that certain television shows are available through there as well. So if you have a Netflix subscription, definitely, you know, it's the thing that made me keep mine. I was on the fence whether to continue because, frankly, I haven't been sending the discs back, and they've just been making a lot of money on me without watching any movies. But this is a whole new way to quickly, easily watch the movies. Now, not all the movies are in there, and there are limitations on how many devices you can watch the movies on, but compared to, you know, say Hulu or Fancast, if you're already a Netflix subscriber, this is great because then you don't have any ads to deal with. Unfortunately, there's no way to take the movie. It's not a rental per se, it's just a streaming movie, so you can't take it and put it on, say, your iPod or iPhone and watch it on the go. Which reminds me, it's November, and each month, at the beginning of the month, first week of the month, we like to do our fantasy merger of the month. Look for that on the blog later this week. And I'll tell you, you could probably figure it out. The fantasy merger, we don't expect these mergers to happen. We just say, well, what if? And so the what if for November is, what if Apple merged with Netflix? So think about that. You can discuss it in the forums or let us know what you think. Send an email to root@thedigital-lifestyle.tv, which, by the way, is the email address if you have technical questions for Root Access, our other show here, feedback@thedigital-lifestyle.tv. Either email, send them to both. We like to get mail. We love the email. Really. We do. We love it. Thank you for joining me tonight, everyone, and be sure to tune in again next week, 9 p.m. Eastern. Adam Ford will be back. If you thought this show was good, well, please come back because you're a very special individual. But next week will definitely be better, so check that out. I just also want to thank iWeb Buddy for sponsoring tonight's show. Again, if you're using iWeb pages, iWeb Buddy picks up where iWeb leaves off, allowing you to manage multiple domains, RSS feeds for your site, as well as Google Analytics and more. Basically, all those little gotchas that are built into iWeb disappear with iWeb Buddy. You can find out more at zarastudios.com or head over to our sponsors page. There's a link to them from there, and be sure to thank them for sponsoring the show as well. That's going to do it. I will see you next week. Bye-bye, everybody.